Hello, and welcome to this app tour of the Church in the Wild app. We like to do these app tours to help you understand everything that's possible with your church app. So you can see already here, I am deep pressing on iOS to open up these quick actions. And in the same way, on Android, if you long press on the app icon, it opens up the app shortcuts, which are equivalent to these on Android, and they can take you directly into these different sections of the app while you're on the home screen of your device. So this is just one example of something that would be very easy to miss if you didn't walk through a walkthrough like this. And while this isn't a critical feature of the app, it makes it much easier and gives you neat ways to use the app. So on, say, Sunday morning, you get to church, you want to follow along in the sermon notes, you can deep press on the icon, press notes, and it will take you directly into the sermon notes inside the app, just giving you quick access to a specific section of the app. But for this walkthrough, I want to actually go into the app by pressing the app icon. So I'm just going to press the Church in the Wild app icon here and go into the app. You see we have the splash screen here, and this is actually my first session of the app. So I actually deleted the app off my device and then re-downloaded it from the App Store so that I can show you what it looks like on your first session. On Android, you're automatically just going to have notifications set up, like it's going to automatically opt you into getting notifications. But on iOS, it's going to ask you if you want to allow Church in the Wild to send you notifications, and we highly advise you to say yes or to allow, because this is a great way for Church in the Wild to be able to communicate with you. So I'm going to go ahead and press allow, and then I'm going to jump right into the connect section of the app. So you can see along the bottom of the screen, you have the 5 tabs. The second one to the right is connect. So I'm going to jump into that one. And you can see that the top option here is notifications. So that's why we came here first, is to walk through notifications. So we already said to allow notifications. So I'm going to press the notifications option here, and you can see here are my notification options. So the top is share data, and that's actually to just send data about the app so that Church in the Wild can understand how people are using the app. It doesn't actually tell Church in the Wild who you are. There's no way for them to know anything other than, hey, someone clicked here. So it just lets them know how the app's being used. But below that are all the notification options. So remember that I toggled on notifications, so you can see the allow notifications option is toggled on. I'll toggle that off right now just to show you. If it's off, you can see that the area below the allow notification section actually disappears. But I'm going to press cancel, and that'll turn it back on since I already turned it on. And below that are different things that you can receive notifications about. So by allowing notifications, that means that if a notification is just sent out to the entire church, I will get that notification. But below that are different options, like getting notifications about men's ministry, women's ministry, kids ministry, volunteers, and Raw. So if I toggle those on, so let's say I want to get notifications about men's ministry, I'm a volunteer, and I want notifications about Raw. Now, this will mean that Church in the Wild can send a notification out specifically to the men's ministry, and I will get that notification. But if someone hasn't toggled it on, they won't get it. So this allows Church in the Wild to be able to target specific groups, but the whole church isn't notified. So if a notification goes out to the women's ministry, that doesn't really apply to me. That means I'm not getting barraged by women's ministry notifications every week when they don't apply to me, or say kids church notifications. This makes it so Church in the Wild can target and send out a lot of notifications a week without bothering the people that don't want notifications about those things. So we highly advise that first thing when you download the app, you opt in for notifications, then you go to the Connect section and go to the notifications section of the Connect section and choose the things that you want notifications about. The rest of the things in the Connect section give you the ability to connect with Church in the Wild. You have a Connect card, which lets you be able on Sunday morning, let's say you're a first-time visitor, or you just want to give Church in the Wild more information about you, you can come here and fill this out, and it gives you the ability to fill out a Connect card for Church in the Wild without having to be there on a day where church is being held and have to fill out something physical, but you can do this throughout the week. The rest of the things are like connecting on social media, where Facebook and Instagram, for instance, I'll press Facebook and you can see it can take me directly into the Church in the Wild page in Facebook. Here I am in the Church in the Wild page, and the reason it works this way is it lets you be able to actually interact with Church in the Wild, to be able to follow Church in the Wild, and it's much better than just opening it as a web view within the Church in the Wild app. And Instagram will work the same way, but if you don't have Facebook or Instagram installed on your device, it'll actually just take you to the web page instead of directly into the app. Also, you can view the website, get directions at Church in the Wild, or even contact Church in the Wild by email or call directly from within the Church in the Wild app. So those are all the different ways that you can connect with Church in the Wild. So next up, let's go to the far left tab, which is Notes. I'm going to press that, and you can see it'll open the Notes section. The notes section gives you the outline for this week's message. And you can see at the top is a nice banner showing the sermon series image. And below that's the sermon name. And below that is the outline for the sermon. So you can see we have Exodus 14:21 with the passage written out here. And then a series of notes. And this can be a lot longer than this. But this is actually the notes for the upcoming sermon. This is the real notes for the upcoming sermon. Now the neat thing about this is not only can I easily view the outline, and I can also use in the bottom right corner you can see the magnifying glass. I can also zoom in and zoom out, setting the zoom to whatever I want it to be, and the app will remember what I have it set as. So next time I use the app, it'll set the font to that size. But I can also touch any section of the notes to take a personal note. You can see at the top of the screen, there's that orange band that says touch any section to take a note. So for this Exodus passage, I'm just going to touch the passage, and I'm going to say, I really like what Exodus. Exodus. I spelled Exodus wrong. Exodus says here. And exclamation mark, press add, and you can see next to the Exodus passage now, there's a little symbol showing I took a note there. So if I press it again, there's my note. So I can tap back in there. So let's say we touch on that passage again and something else is said that means something to me. I can just tap it and say, oh, wow, and this. Obviously, you'd want to write something that actually meant something. But you can come back and take notes and then just keep adding to it if you want. But also, as we go through, you can tap this bottom portion, and there can be a number of portions here. So there could be a passage, a point, a passage, a point, and note on point. And take a note here, and now you can see I have another note there, and that note's taken on that big block of text, but actually each of those small blocks could have their own note. It's all up to how the outline was designed. But as the notes get longer and longer, you can see, or as the outline could be longer and longer, you can see as I scroll through, it's really easy to look at the left-hand side and be able to see what has had notes taken on it. And then once the message is finished, I can press the email sermon at the bottom, and you can see there's the Exodus passage, and below that is my personal note. And there's the other block of text, and there's my personal note. So it actually puts your notes in line where you took them so that you can then email the notes and have your notes on the different blocks that you took them on, making it much easier to be able to tell where you took your notes. And then you can email this to yourself. And we hear awesome stories about how people will set up their email client like Gmail so it creates a folder, and whenever an email is sent in from the app, it will store the sermon notes within that folder so that they have an archive of all of the sermon notes. They never have to worry about losing them anymore as long as they email them, and then they can go back and reference any of those notes whenever they want. So now you don't have to worry about having a limited amount of space in the margin if you're handwriting notes. So you can write as many notes as you want, and you don't have to worry about losing those notes after you take them. So hopefully that shows you the power of what the sermon outline or sermon notes can do within the Church in the Wild app. We're really excited about having this tool available to Church in the Wild. So next up is media. So the second tab to the left, I'm going to press the media button, and you can see here we have Church in the Wild sermons separated by sermon series. So each of these spoken words is a sermon series, core values is a sermon series. So it makes it really easy to, if you want to listen to, or if you want to watch all of the sermons from Church in the Wild from a specific series to get a specific topic, I could go ahead and pick core values, and here are the sermons from the core values series. So these 4 sermons, and then I can either start at the oldest one. The oldest one will be at the bottom, the newest one will be at the top, and I can select those, and I'll just go into Greats Matters, and you can see here the video loads. I can press the watch button, or I can just press that play button at the top in the embedded player and just start watching the message. So let's say this message means a lot to me, or I realize, hey, this message would really mean something to so-and-so. I can go ahead in the top right corner, there's even a share button. I can press that, and it'll open options for sharing. So if I realize this would mean something to someone specifically, I could press the iMessage button or the mail button. You'll have equivalent options on Android. Or I can scroll over. If this, I think this would just be something I would want to share with everyone, I can share the details on Twitter. I can share them on Facebook. So I'll go ahead and press Twitter, and this will bring up Twitter where it says, here's a message I like from Church in the Wild, and it will actually attach that video to the post, making it really easy to be able to share videos with people on social media or share it personally with someone over email or text. So that's an awesome way that you can stay connected, catch up with sermons that you missed, or if maybe you're new to Church in the Wild, kind of get a feel for where Church in the Wild has been over the last few months. Next up, let's go to Calendar, the middle tab. Here is the calendar, and this is just a list of the events going on at Church in the Wild. So you can see for each event, there's an add to calendar button and an information button. You may ask yourself, why is there an add to calendar button? I'm already looking at the calendar and it's already here. And the key here is you're looking at Church in the Wild's calendar. So this is the calendar coming out of Church in the Wild. But add to calendar will add it to your device calendar. So you're looking at this on some app, on some device, whether it's an Android phone, an iPhone, an iPad. Add to calendar will add the events to your device calendar. So let's say you're on an iPhone, as I am in this case, it'll add it to my iCal when I press it. So I'm just going to go ahead and press add to calendar, and you can say it asked me for permission to be able to add it to my iCalendar, which is good. I wouldn't want an app to just be able to access my calendar without me giving it permission. So I'll say okay, and you can say here, event added. So now it's been added to my personal calendar. My calendar is also linked to my wife's calendar, so really my whole family is getting this event linked into our personal calendar now. So what you can do is scroll through all the Church in the Wild events that are relevant to you and your family, select add to calendar. So remember, I did that and it made me confirm I wanted to do it. So let's do Church in the Raw on September 22nd. I press add to calendar now, immediately event is added. So I don't have to confirm every time I want to allow it to have access to my calendar. Just the first time I have to do that. So it's really easy. In a matter of, say, probably less than a minute, you could scroll through months and months and months of events and select the ones that are relevant to your family, and now your calendar's linked up. And the cool thing about this is oftentimes for a church, they will make you link their entire calendar with your calendar to sync it versus giving you the ability to pinpoint the events that are relevant to you. Whereas in this case, you can select the events that are relevant to you and your family without getting events that are not relevant to you. Now for the information button here, so for that top September 29th information button for the ladies group, I'm going to press that, and you can see it brings up a pop-up and it gives me additional information. For more information about this event, contact us at, and it gives you an email address. Well, wouldn't it be nice if I could just do that from within the app and contact? Well, there's an email button right here ready to go. So I'm going to press email, and you can see it brings up a form. The subject line is filled out saying contacting about ladies group, because remember, this event is ladies group. And then you can see it fills out the email address even for me for churchinthewild2@gmail.com. So I can just jump in here and say, I have a question, and go ahead and write out my email about whatever my question is about this event. So it makes it really easy while staying within the Church in the Wild app to be able to contact Church in the Wild. One other cool thing is that you can see for men's group on September 29th, there's a register for event button, and it's very obvious that it's there because it adds a whole new row of buttons there below the add to calendar information button. So as I'm scrolling through, it's really easy to tell that event has registration available, and I can select that button and it will take me right to the registration page while keeping me within the Church in the Wild app. And I can also press the information button. You can see for this one it says, please register for this event at, gives you a website, or contact us at, and an email address. And you can see here we now have an email button and a register button. So from the information section, you could also press register, or like we did for the ladies event, you can email. So the calendar is actually one of the most powerful sections of the whole app because it really helps you to stay connected in all ways, whether it's communicating with the leader of an event, getting more information from a website, or even registering for events. So this is a great place to keep your eye on and to make sure you add those events that are relevant to your family to your personal calendar so you can keep track of the things that you want to keep track of. So last of all, the right tab is the giving tab, and this gives you access to the ways that you can give at Church in the Wild, whether that's by envelope or by digitally giving, in which case you just press the giving button there. So that's a great walkthrough of the different things that are possible with the Church in the Wild app. If you'd like to know more about what's possible with the FaithLink app, please visit our website at faithlinkapps.com.